We've not got a Red Bull to crack open.
Oh. Do you want a medal? Liam Lawson is tasting promotion right now. Drive Like a Girl, episode 4.
Woo!
How is everyone?
I'm great.
Are
How
you?
are you, Nigel Jr.?
How are you, Nigel? I hope you're fine.
I hope you're good. How are you, Jess?
No, I'm good. Was had a nice Easter actually.
Yeah. Oh my God. Nice. Yeah, Easter.
Yeah. And I went to, where did I go? Croatia.
Yeah.
I completely forgot then. I went to Croatia. Yeah.
I can't believe that all happened.
Only 2 nights. Yeah, it went so quick. Like, it was Easter, and then I went to Croatia. Came back, work, weekend. Went to the pub yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, we had
20
a bit
degrees.
Of a first day of the summer pub.
Even though it was freezing cold.
Yeah, it was freezing.
It said 20 degrees. We were like, right, pub, garden, here we go.
Yeah.
And it was windy. Didn't even feel like 20 degrees.
No,
the sun wasn't even out.
Sun wasn't out. And then we wake up this morning and it's bright sunshine, and I was like,
great. After a few wines, I don't want to be seeing sunshine. I hate it when it's sunny and I'm hungover.
I want it to be like pathetic fallacy, where it represents my mood. The weather represents my mood. That's the one thing I learnt from English literature.
Oh, wow. I didn't take anything from English. Didn't take anything from school. How was your Easter? You went to Scotland, didn't you?
I went to Scotland, which was lovely. Went with my family. Had a very wholesome time. Lots of beach walks.
This episode, we are going to... Well, Sammy's going to tell you about a history topic that used to happen in F1. As we know, F1 right now is a bit... It's not boring, but it's not as good as it used to be. And I think a lot of the history that has happened, if no one knew, like, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but it's going to be really interesting.
It's related to this week's race.
Okay, cool. And then after that, we're going to talk about the race that happened today, because it is Sunday today. Please just comment of anything that we haven't touched on yet that maybe people want to know, or anything else, any games we can do.
Maybe we'll save a few and answer some of your guys' questions, prep them.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
So comment
now. So shall I just get into the history section?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about Jules Bianchi.
Okay.
So Jules Bianchi was actually Charles Leclerc's godfather.
Right.
Charles and Jules, their families are super, super close, and they both come from major motorsporting families, right? So Jules's dad owned a karting company. Okay. His uncle was a racer. Jules started karting at the age of 3. 3? Yeah, I know.
How do you even know how
to do anything at 3?
Literally, I was at Legoland at 6.
I want my driver's license.
Confused.
Yeah, that was Jules, and he was kind of a bit of a prodigy. How can you not be being surrounded by like motorsport all the time? I don't know. You probably kind of feel that pressure. But Jules kind of very quickly, at the age of 15, he switched from karting to actual like racing in a real car, and then he eventually got into F3.
So is karting like how most Formula 1 drivers, that's kind of the start of their story as well? They get into karting and then they move up or move to different types of motorsport.
All of the Formula 1 drivers will have started in go-karting, obviously from really young ages. Jules was 3, which isn't crazy, but a lot of drivers start around 5, and it's nuts. I mean, we've probably all done it on like a family holiday or something.
I don't think I ever did.
You've never done go-karting?
Well, I've done it recently, like a year ago at Gravity.
Oh in
Wandsworth, but I never did it when I was younger. No.
Oh no way! We had like near our house, we had like a maze, and there was always go-karting at this thing, and we'd go together.
That's nice.
But I don't think it's not in any way near the same level as like what these Formula 1 drivers started on. Yeah, so then he was in lots of other kind of motorsporting things before he got into F3, but I'm going to skip to when he started in F3 in 2009, and he won that championship, and he was quickly then snapped up by Ferrari, who noticed him.
Imagine that.
I know. Well, he had links in that. I think his manager at the time was linked to Ferrari.
Right.
But
And
yeah.
how old was he?
In 2009, he was, let me work this out, so
Oh, sorry, I've got you there. And your maths.
19,
Wow.
I think. But yeah, so he won the F3 championship, and then Ferrari added him to their young drivers program, and I think he was one of the first, if not the first, to join Ferrari's F1 Young Drivers Program.
Okay.
And he began testing out their cars and things like this. And then he first, again, skipping ahead, he then joined Formula 2, which at the time was not called Formula 2, it was called like GP2. And then he went into another motorsporting race, which was called Renault something or other. But anyway, he was very, very successful. And people kind of related him at the time to, they said he was like a young Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso
Really?
being like a 3-time world champion. And he was driving with people like Nico Hulkenberg and Valtteri Bottas.
Was he?
Yeah, in like Formula 2.
No way.
Yeah. And these were all his teammates, which is like crazy to think about because they're all now, and Sergio Perez, these were all people he was like driving around with. He first went into Formula 1 in 2013. He was originally going to join Force India, but that kind of like got scuppered, and he joined a team called Marussia, but he joined a team called Marussia, and they were like at the bottom of the grid, but Ferrari was supplying them their engines, so kind of like, I guess, Haas now.
Okay.
So he joined in 2013, and then he was kept on for 2014. And in 2014, at Monaco, he won Marussia their first points.
Oh, wow.
He got like P9, and that was like an incredible moment. It was like, I know they're like a lower level team, so P9 to some teams would not be great, but like for them it was like a crazy moment, and it was like their first set of points. So, and he was set to be an like really great driver. You know, when he wasn't in Formula 1 and all the others, he was constantly getting like on the podium, constantly winning races. And then in Formula 1, he was keeping his team up basically. Like they were in a big competition against this other team, and he was the like sole reason that they were trying to like basically fighting for their position. And then when they eventually got points, it was like a big moment. So that was in 2014. But then that year, I'm going to skip to the Japanese Grand Prix, which at the time was in the autumn. So now this year we're in spring. They moved the Japanese Grand Prix, but at the time it was in like October. And that particular year, that race was like surrounded by lots of drama and things going wrong. So days before first practice one, a volcano erupted, which killed 47 people in Japan. But they decided to go ahead, even though there was this big natural disaster. And then also a typhoon was set to hit Tokyo on race day, on Sunday, making it a super wet, super rainy race. But it wasn't hitting before that, so all the practices, qualifying was not wet like it was on the Sunday. But Sunday this typhoon hit, and it was like crazy. There was a lot of debate whether to change the start time, whether to postpone, but they continued on ahead anyway.
Change anything?
No. And it was a really, really wet one.
It's quite bad.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of lessons learned from this particular race. In that race, the wet weather, there's a lot of standing water around the track, and another driver, Adrian Sutil, crashed. He was driving for Sauber at the time, and he aquaplaned. Aquaplaning.
What does that mean?
So aquaplaning means, like, you can do it in, like, anyone can do it driving. We can do it in our car. Well, I can't do it because I don't drive. But you could do it in, like, when you're driving, if it's particularly wet and you hit standing water.
Right.
And basically that water causes you to completely lose grip, and you lose all control of the car.
Yeah.
You can't steer, you can't accelerate, and you can't brake even. The car just like goes when you hit that standing water. So Adrian, on the 40th lap at turn 7 of the Japanese Grand Prix, aquaplaned and hit this water and went off and veered into the side of the race. So this is so close to the end. We're on the 40th lap.
Yeah.
And it was very, very heavy rain, and it was also turning dark, so visibility was very, very low.
Turning dark?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah, it was going into
whilst raining?
Yeah.
Heavily? Okay.
I know. All not building up to great conditions for this race. And when Adrian Sutil he crashed out, he got out of his car and they sent a recovery vehicle, a crane, onto the track to retrieve his car.
So surely that's a red flag, right?
Yeah, I think there was a yellow flag.
Yeah, but a yellow flag just slows them down, but they're not actually coming off of the track.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're putting a vehicle on the track to take another vehicle off, like, that's a serious crash. There should be a red flag.
Yeah.
And there wasn't.
No. So then Jules Bianchi came round and had the exact same thing happen again. He also hit standing water in the exact same corner, aquaplaned off to the same direction, but instead of hitting the barrier, he went straight into the recovery vehicle at full force.
Oh my God.
Into this crane. Crane then dropped like Adrian's car. The crane itself like went off the floor because they drive so fast.
Yeah.
And he went full speed into the crane.
It.
Yeah.
So he would have crashed at literally the exact same place.
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay.
Like that exact same corner.
But why? So how soon after that crash happened, like the first crash, when he was coming round, was that because it was as soon as the crash happened? But then surely the recovery vehicle wouldn't have got there that quick.
No, it had to have
so
been
like how many
after.
laps would it have had to have been for him to still be going round and them all to still be going round? Like, surely they should not be going round.
No, something should have happened. There should have been messages sent
there.
to the drivers. They should have been taken off, or again, like really slowed down around that bend. He crashed. The team then asked if he was okay on the radio. There was no response. It was then people that went to the scene saw that he'd got serious head injury. He was then taken away. They couldn't fly out with like a medical helicopter because there was a typhoon and the weather was so bad, so they had to drive him to the nearest hospital.
Yeah.
And then he was in a coma.
He was in a coma?
Yeah. And he didn't come out of the coma, but he was able to breathe by himself, so they were able to move him to Nice because he's from France. They were able to move him to Nice, to a hospital there, but then 9 months after the crash, he died from
9
his
months?
injuries.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
9 months?
I know.
And what eventually was it? Just he just was in that coma for the 9 months?
Yeah, and the head injury. So it says here, he had been in an induced coma since the accident, in which he suffered a diffuse axonal injury. He became the first Formula One driver in 21 years to die as a result of injuries sustained during a Grand Prix session, and the last person to have died because of injuries or something that happened in a Grand Prix was Ayrton Senna in 1994, who is renowned as a Formula One legend and known to many as one of the best Formula One drivers to exist.
21 years?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And also, Charles dedicates his entire career to Jules. There's so many pictures of Jules at karting races with Charles. He's obviously his godfather. Charles then made this commemorative helmet for this race, and it had Jules's number 17 on it, and it mimicked Jules's exact helmet with the design. And after Jules's death, the Formula One retired his number 17, so no one else can use that number in respect and commemoration.
So what were the lessons learned from that?
So, well, another incident happened very, very recently in 2022, where it was the Japanese Grand Prix again, and Carlos Sainz lost control and went into the barrier, and it was the same. He aquaplaned. A recovery vehicle was then brought onto the track to get Carlos's car off, but this was not communicated to the drivers.
No way.
And Pierre Gasly had actually...
So it wasn't even a red flag again?
No. So Pierre Gasly was then coming out of the pit, picking up a lot of speed, going very, very fast, and it was not communicated to him that there was a recovery vehicle on the track. So when he came round the corner, he was going full speed and the recovery vehicle was on the track. He was fine,
God.
but they were fuming, and
You would be.
he
As
was
soon as you'd
screaming
see
down
it.
the how dare you do this. And after that race he said, this is disrespectful to Jules, his family, and everyone here, that we've not learned from these lessons. How can this be still happening again?
Yeah.
And Charles said the same thing. Charles was very upset.
So who was responsible for not communicating that?
So the FIA then did a formal investigation, and they admitted that it had been their fault. So they said this led to a formal FIA investigation, and they said, quote, they could have handled it better.
Right.
And basically this led to new rules being put into place, that there's a warning system. So anytime a recovery vehicle is on track, there's now a warning system that they will tell the teams, and the teams will have to tell the drivers. The fact that was not in place in the first place is mind-blowing to me.
What the hell?
And then there's also a virtual safety car / safety car driver speed restriction. So now, we talked a bit about it in our back to basics, but now, like, the speed that a driver is going will vary depending on where in the track that they are, and if they are close to a recovery vehicle now, their speed will have to significantly decrease.
Right.
So they go around a lot slower.
But it's still, they could still be going around where a recovery vehicle is there.
And the
So that's
FIA
not
said
changed.
that they...
And why will that not change?
They said, like, it's normal procedure to, in a yellow flag, send out a recovery vehicle for the car.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in these things, but surely that...
Just to have a
There's
vehicle on the track. To have people on the track as well.
Yeah, because it's not just the drivers, it could be someone else. It's like when you break down on the motorway, they're like, get out of your car and like move up away from the road as far as you can, or somewhere that may be more safe. Yeah. Because you just don't know.
It's crazy. And he's the only driver in this century to have died during a Formula One Grand Prix. So, you know, there's a lot of safety procedures in place, but like stupid mistakes like this from, you know, the FIA, the track. But the fact that it was at Japan in 2022, again,
that's such
when
a
it
coincidence.
happened, and it really, I think that like shocked a lot of people in the paddock. It would
though, yeah, of course it would.
And they're all like, this is so recent, like we said, like 2015, 2014 doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah, and 2022 is really not that long ago.
No, not at all. So this year marks the 10th anniversary of the accident that Jules had, and a lot of people say he could have, like, he would be so much further ahead in his career, obviously further ahead, but like he could have been like incredible. But you know, you don't know, you say these things, but at the time people were like, you could be a world champion. And
well, at least that, you know, sometimes these mistakes have to happen for them to realise and learn, which is awful to say, but I think it is very safe now for the drivers, but it's very sad that these things do happen.
It is a risky sport though. Every single race they put their lives on the line, and lots of safety procedures have been put in place, but
things can still happen. Accidents can still happen.
And this is scary. You know, that risk makes it an exciting sport, and it's, you know, there's a lot of adrenaline, and why a lot of people
and that's why they love it. They love the adrenaline.
But nobody wants to watch it to actually see injuries and things go. Nobody is wishing for that to happen.
No. He was 25 when he died.
Yeah. That's my age. That's literally crazy to think about.
Oh shit, yeah, it is.
I know this is like skipping ahead to the race, but like Charles didn't get on the podium, but he did win, what was it, driver of
the day.
Which
is nice.
This is nice.
Yeah.
So that's when that happened, and when we were watching, I was just like,
I'm glad he got the votes, because people, the public vote for drivers of the day, and he was getting the most votes, and I'm so glad the public did vote, because we didn't watch it live, so we couldn't vote, but I'm glad that he got driver of the day. He definitely deserved
it for sure,
100%, because it's more for Jules as well, not just for Charles. Definitely Jules.
But I'm really sorry to brought the
it's
mood
a sad
right
story,
down.
but it's a part of the history of the sport, and I think it's nice to talk about different things and commemorate him.
I think it was important, particularly obviously, to remember, because these are lessons that we've learned, and the race this week was the 10-year anniversary of that incident, and it's still so raw with a lot of people.
Well, thank you for the story though. and hopefully it's not
Story
ruined the
time.
mood. Anyway, not to
So-
like shift it round, but we are now going to lift up the mood
Okay.
and talk about
I
today's
need to do like
race.
a Sharpay.
We need to.
What should you go? She goes, ma. What should you go? Ha, 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 ma, ma.
Ma, ma.
Ma, ma.
I'm not doing that. Right, okay. So,
No.
again, we didn't watch the race live. Don't come for us,
sorry.
okay? We are not true fans. Look, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day for work. Do I want to be waking up that early on my weekends off?
No.
And I know many people watching this will be like, well, I did. Well,
Where's your commitment?
fair enough. Do you want a medal? No. Okay. Anyway, so I've got it broken down here on my phone, loads of notes that I made for the race to give you a nice breakdown of what happened if you didn't watch it, because we don't judge here and we understand if you didn't want to wake up at 6 a.m. to watch it. So use our podcast to learn.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love
just a
that.
little
Just a
there.
little for you guys.
Not
What would
having
you, before we start, what would you rate the race out of 10? Like your
So
experience.
it wasn't like obviously a lot of stuff happened. It wasn't as boring as the first one. I think this was the first race we've seen where it was a lot about tyre strategy. I just felt like that was a huge thing
part of
because of what, like, we'll go on to explain why that was such a big thing, but I think that's a lot of strategies and it's so confusing, guys. I'm finding it really hard to like get to terms with the whole tyre strategy and get into grips with it
Yeah,
all. I
it
find
is,
it so confusing still, and like I'm literally listening and trying to revise and actually really listen to what they're saying and taking it in, but I'm like, I find it so hard because they talk so quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my brain's everywhere.
Maybe what we can do is, because this is something we've been talking about it together and we've been like, we still don't understand. We'll just voice what we're confused about, and then if you know,
Please
let us
comment.
know, comment and
Please.
tell us and explain.
Yeah.
Because we will continue to do our research and our homework, but it's just something that we're still getting our heads around.
Exactly.
So we will explain it as much as we
Yeah.
understand it.
So to start off, can I just put something in here first, kind of not to do with the actual race, but Carlos Sainz arrived to the paddock with Helmut Marko. So there was pictures taken of them two waltzing in together. Helmut Marko is the director of Red Bull, so obviously they're walking in together, and Carlos Sainz still doesn't have a seat for next year. So it's kind of like, oh, is Carlos
They're
Sainz
really
going to take Sergio
seeding
Perez's seat? They're putting seeds in. Maybe they're just having a little catch up. Maybe they're just friends, but maybe they're having
I
some
think they know
secret
what they're
chats.
doing. Even like, well, they're definitely having chats.
100%
And,
you would.
like, I think they know what they're doing in doing that. You know, it's kind of like
They
not
know
Mean
people are
Girls,
going to
but,
take
like,
pictures.
Yeah.
They know we're going to be,
It's
fans are going to be
tactical.
like, oh my God. But so yeah, that was just the first thing. So lap 1, guys, there was a red flag on lap 1. Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon were out on the second turn. They went straight into the wall. So it was, we don't know whose fault it is because we thought it was Alex Albon's, but then
Yeah.
everyone was saying it was Daniel Ricciardo's. I don't really think it was anyone's. I kind of do see how it could have been Daniel Ricciardo's fault. I think it was just a really
think when we
unfortunate event
watched
happened
it-
in the first lap.
Yeah, when we watched it and we thought it was Albon, it was because Albon was coming up from behind.
So Albon was trying to overtake Daniel Ricciardo because basically at the start of the race, Yuki Tsunoda overtook Daniel Ricciardo, and I think that kind of threw Daniel off. And then Alex Albon saw an opening to overtake him, and then Daniel Ricciardo maybe potentially didn't see him in his mirrors and kind of went over to the left as Alex Albon was trying to overtake him on the left, and then hit the back wheel. They both went flying into the wall, if that explains it without using my hands.
No, use your hands.
But no, because people
like
on
this.
Spotify would be like, what the hell? I don't know what you're talking about. But so that happened and that caused a red flag. So obviously when there's a red flag, that means that the race stops. All
Yeah.
of the drivers have to go to the pits.
It gave us an opportunity to look at our favourite drivers again. Carlos Sainz, when he took his helmet
had
off, I
some
was like,
amazing shots of the drivers. Honestly, Carlos beautiful man.
What a beautiful
when he like
man.
his hair's all wavy, I'm like, wow,
I know.
he's beautiful.
And he looked so serious, and he was like, yeah, what's going on? I was
What's
like,
going on? But it's really nice because once it happened, everyone was checking, are they okay? And Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo, they get along really well. And Max said, is everything okay? And then his team said Daniel's fine, like they're both fine, like made sure to say Daniel was fine. So yeah, they were absolutely fine. They came straight out. They were fine. But anyway, so red flag meant the race stopped. This then gave all of the teams a chance to change their tyres, which completely shifted the whole, what we were saying a minute ago about tyre strategy.
Yeah.
Different tyre strategies were put in place. Some teams were like, okay, we'll do the one-stop strategy, which is where they only change and go into the pits once during the race to change their tyres. So they need to make sure they've got like the right tyres on that will... It's a lot.
I wonder is why, because that crash happened on the like literally first lap, and I can say that because it literally did happen on the first time.
It did this time, honey bunny.
So it happened on the first lap. Why did that red flag then enable? Because it's so early on. Why did they then want to change the tyre strategy so early on?
I think as well, because they have that chance to start again. It's like, okay, we've got like a fresh start. And I think as well the temperature of the track was going down, which then can change people's strategies as well, because obviously it's all about the heat and the tyres and what will last.
And they were trying to keep the heat in the medium tyres, right? They were like putting little cozies on them.
Yeah, they put like things on them.
Keep them hot.
So with the tyres, there's a one-stop strategy that I heard the commentators talking about, and Mercedes and Alpine used that one-stop strategy, whereas Red Bull, like as an example, used a two-stop strategy. So I'm going to explain who's worked and who didn't, but that's just how they kind of are changing. But in other words, Liam Lawson is tasting promotion right now. Because he must be shaking in his boots.
He's like, it's right there.
It's right there. Please, Daniel, crash, please. And Daniel Ricciardo and Alex Albon are on our fantasies, so that was not great.
God,
honestly, what is going on? I can't be dealing with it again. I had this in the last episode. I don't like it. Because you just don't know what the hell.
Good.
I can't predict the future. I just can't, and I don't know enough to like figure out who. I don't know, because there's so much to it. And I feel like I'm learning every single time I watch a race. And it was nice to hear as well, because the commentator said the exact same thing. Because Bernie was saying things. She's an F1 broadcaster, and she's so clever. She's amazing. If you Google her right now, it's like really female empowerment. But she was teaching the men things that they didn't even know, like during the race. And it was just really interesting to see. They were like, wow, Bernie, you're amazing, like we learn something new every race, like, and they're broadcasters that have been doing commentators
super clued up.
Exactly. So the fact that they're still learning,
teach us some stuff.
She needs to because she's knows a lot about strategies and tyres and just every little detail in Formula One. It's amazing. She's so clever. She's so smart. Anyway, so we're going to move on to Nico Hülkenberg. When it was the red flag, he did the meme again. And I literally said it. So if you hadn't seen, but we talked about it in a couple episodes ago. He was out and he was sat on the chair, kind of like arms crossed, feet up, like, I don't care, I'm just here for the vibes.
And he's literally started vibing again.
He did it again, and he knew because the camera was on him. He was like, this is the perfect chance to make a meme again. 100%.
And you were like, he's doing the meme again. And then the commentator was like, what's he doing? Is he trying to do a beam? And you were like,
he did do a meme, and I just said that. It's great minds think alike. But Haas are chilling. They were in the points, so the race started, and I'm just going to now talk about all of the different drivers and what happened. So Haas were in the points at one point. They were P10. They were doing quite well. Kevin Magnussen, very aggressive, feisty guy in his car, but was good to watch. But they didn't finish with any points, sadly, this time. They finished in P11 and P13. They're doing better
than they finished?
Exactly. And it's
Which
not
is more
much
than we
what
can
anyone
say.
else can say, i.e. Williams and Alpine. So Haas is doing better than both of them right now.
Yeah, definitely chilling.
But they had obviously Alex Albon and Daniel Ricciardo out, so that was 2 drivers. But then Joe Guan Yu, who drives for Kick Sauber, his car, he went into the pit and there was obviously an issue with the car. They didn't really touch much upon it. They didn't even show what was said.
Yeah, and we
between
are
him
recording
and the team
this
principal.
on the day that we watched the race. So.
Yeah, but I did some Googling afterwards and it said he retired due to a problem with the drivetrain, which they're now investigating. I don't know what the drivetrain is.
It sounded like something
It's
within
definitely
the
it's definitely
gearbox.
something.
Well, it's definitely something in the car.
But if you know, let us know.
So he was retired. And we may as well have the fantasy chat now, but...
Unlucky for you. Joe Guan Yu's in your fantasy as well. So those were the 3 drivers that were out
and they were
in the
all
whole
of
race,
my...
and they're all in your fantasy.
I actually can't even believe it. So in my fantasy, I've got Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. And I know, I didn't change it from the last race. And I said I was going to, and I didn't. And it's all my fault. And I was saying I was going to take Daniel out. I just could not believe it. I was screaming from the toilet when I looked at my fantasy and realised I've all 3 of my drivers.
But would you have changed all 3 before the race, or just Daniel?
I think I probably would have just taken out Daniel, maybe. So then I would have been...
I want to take out Daniel. Sorry, Daniel, but I can't because my fantasy name's called Honey Badger. Call me your Honey Badger. So I can't. That would be...
It would be... But, you know...
I just can't. I'm going to stick with it.
But you might... If you can say it's just tactics. Sorry, Daniel, it's tactical.
No,
but then,
I can't.
But then if I was doing it for tactics, I'd put Max Verstappen on my team, and I refused to, so...
Yeah.
Same thing.
I didn't. And then Esteban Ocon, he was asked to push, and he said, I am pushing, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that was so
Literal
funny.
sass.
We hear that so much. Every time
They're so
someone gets told to
sassy.
push, I always think, what do you think they're doing? Like, you like...
They're just cruising. The way that they
Yeah.
talk to each other can be quite funny sometimes. But the one thing that made me laugh was Logan. No, not Logan Sargent. Lance Stroll. I've got it on here.
Oh, yeah.
He just sounded really funny, and he was like, it's unbelievable how bad our speed is on the straight, man. Like, it's a different category.
You got to
and
put
just
on the Canadian accent.
And it was like, I don't know, it's just the Canadian accent just is...
But it was
cringe
weird
to
because
me.
we thought he was excited, like the way he sounded.
I thought
at
he
one
was
point.
like, oh, he's saying they're really
It's
fast. I was
unbelievable,
like,
the speed.
Unbelievable. And then I realised, I was like, I think he's actually saying it's shit speed. So there were just 2 things that made me chuckle.
Yeah, that was funny.
We've put down here Williams is fucked, because they literally are. Logan Sargent was doing well. He got to P11, and I actually was like, come on, Logan, like, you've had it so bad. He started last as well, and I just thought, he's right, P11, come on, just one more push, you could get to B10, you can do it, you can get in the points. Just for Williams, they've had such a bad streak, like, their cars, they're having to fly now, because again, Alex Albon crashed their car again. They're having to fly the car.
No, Logan crashed it this time. Sorry. And then Alex in the race. Completely wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. No, but yeah, twice. Like Logan in
FP1. Yeah.
And then Alex Albon in the race. So they're having to transport their cars back to the UK, like fly them over, which is apparently costing them like £2 million. Yeah.
So now both cars are fucked.
They are fucked, basically. And I feel really bad for them, because I don't know, I thought Williams...
Yeah.
I actually thought Williams would do better than Haas. So yeah, he got to P11, but eventually he went back down to P15. He went off track, but I didn't see what happened. But then what I did see was him reversing back onto the track.
Logan.
So Logan. Yeah. Like, he nearly crashed as well. Could you imagine? He like went off track and then reversed back onto the track to keep going. Luckily that was kind of dangerous. He shouldn't have really done that.
When it was happening though, I thought he was rolling.
I thought it was
so
rolling
weird.
back. Yeah, I thought it was a mistake and he couldn't brake or something, but then he ended up
Just like,
riding.
what?
He was like, no, I'm going back on the track. He carried on in the race, but then that meant that he finished last in P17. So it's really not looking good for Williams right now, which is not nice.
No.
George Russell really nearly crashed in. I don't know what lap it was, but it was it was
Right
like
at the end, right?
Right at the end, yeah, like lap 50 or something. He nearly crashed into Oscar, and that could have been literally round 2 from what happened in Melbourne when he crashed in the last lap. So glad that didn't happen, but they were very close. And then he did eventually manage to overtake Oscar, so they were fighting for the P7, because obviously in the last lap, so they're just trying to get that extra lap so they can get the extra points, because it's not about winning now, it's just about, right, you need to overtake this one more person, because that one overtake you're getting more points for the team. So
Well, didn't the FIA then they're launching a formal investigation into that incident?
when they nearly crashed?
Yeah, when they nearly
Yes,
crashed.
there'll probably be some second penalty, so things could change. But that's just happened as of now. But he managed to overtake them in the end. It was good to see. It was like a good bit of racing. George used DRS and slipstream, so he ended in P7.
Which we
P8
explained
for
what
Oscar.
those were in our last episode.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, I'm not going to explain it actually. You have to watch the episode.
But I like your explanation of, you can explain slipstream, because you're good at explaining that.
Am I?
Yeah. You don't. You were like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. I'll explain it. But it's basically it was on a straight. Oscar was obviously in front of him, and because of the wind, he went behind Oscar. The wind doesn't go onto George; it will go onto Oscar, which obviously affects his speed. But then because George's car's getting blocked by the wind, he can pick up some more speed. So then they're like back to back, going really, really fast, and then all of a sudden George will just cut out and then overtake him quickly on the straight, because he's managed to gain that extra speed to then quickly overtake him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
But yeah, clever. It's also clever. Yuki Tsunoda, obviously it's his home race. He finished in P10, which is good for him.
Yay.
And really good for RB. So well done, Yuki. Got in the points. Really good to see. Obviously wish Logan Sargent could have got there, but it was fine. I feel so bad for Logan and Williams, but anyway.
But we're happy for Yuki. You know,
Yeah.
I saw a really interesting conversation topic. I think it's another podcast was talking about it, but I saw a clip on TikTok. But don't you think it's weird that Yuki's doing so well, but when Yuki does so well and Daniel does badly, the narrative isn't like, oh, Yuki's doing amazing, he deserves that spare Red Bull seat if there ever is one, he deserves to move up. It's, why is Daniel so bad and why is Daniel not doing good? And I think that is true.
It is kind of
Yuki's done
true.
so well, but he doesn't kind of get the credit I think he deserves.
No, definitely not. And I think as well because him being quite immature in the past, and
I did think that was
him getting
maybe,
I think it's just the age as well. He does come across quite immature, so maybe that doesn't help him, but he's turning a corner, definitely.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
He's definitely a skilled driver.
100%, yeah.
Really good.
So yeah, he finished P10. He did lose 2 places and was in P12, but then he pitted with Kicksauber, Williams and Haas.
Oh yeah, that was dramatic.
Yeah, so they all pitted at the same time at one point, and it was like, who's going to come out far? Who's going to get the quickest pit stop so then they can get out and
Because that's a race in
overtake.
itself, getting out the pit stop first, because otherwise you're going to be behind all these people.
And yeah, luckily for RB and Yuki Tsunoda, he came out first of the pit, so then he was managed to quickly gain those 2 spaces back, and was in P10.
Really
and he was so excited about it. He was saying well done guys, it was
Yeah.
really sweet.
It was
He
a great pit stop,
yeah,
super fast.
Yeah, and so they were really, really happy with that. So, and that is what got them the points. So really good teamwork all around. So really good for them. Lando Norris was doing well. He was in P3. He's doing really, really well. I think he needs a win, but it's not going to happen unless Max goes out. No one's really going to get a chance now unless Max goes out. But Lando Norris, I think he really deserves a win. So he was in P3. I don't really know what happened, but I think it was just due to the pits stops and their strategy and when he should have taken those pit stops and his tyre strategy. I think it just didn't help in the end, and unfortunately Ferrari Red Bull did better, so I don't know, I didn't put down where he finished. Oh, he finished in P3, so it's not terrible at all. P5,
Yeah.
P5. He finished in P5. Sorry. So yeah, but he was doing well, but yeah, finished in P5. Hamilton started P7 and finished P9.
The Mercedes.
Well, anyway, I just feel really bad. I think Hamilton's kind of done. I think
he's checked out, mate.
Because he even said, like, he was like, shall I let George overtake me? Like, I'll let George overtake me, which is obviously nice, and it's a good team player, like, to do the best for the points and for your team. But I think he's kind of did that as well because he's probably mentally clocked out for Mercedes, maybe. And after the race, so it says he suggested to let George overtake him as he had a better grip with the hard tyres. And after the race, Lewis still is expressing he's not happy with the car, and it's, quotes, never been what he's hoped for.
And that sounds very much like resigned to the situation. It's never been what I wanted. It's not going to be what I wanted.
They're not listening to me.
Yeah.
And I did think that, like, in past years, they don't listen to him enough, I don't think, of like different parts in the car that he thinks should change. But whereas George seems still really positive, surprisingly, and he thinks every time there's a fault in a race that they'll improve it in the next ones. He was like, we're gonna improve in the Chinese Grand Prix, which is the next Grand Prix.
George is very sweet.
And I was like, that is really sweet. And it's good to stay positive. I think because he was with Williams, he raced for Williams a couple of years ago, and being with a team that's car is just not for you, and you're better than the car, basically. And I think the only thing that got him through that and got him to Mercedes was being positive. And I think the fact that he's keeping it up, and, you know, him and Toto Wolff have a good relationship, and I think it's good he's staying positive. It's just really sad for Lewis. I think he's clocked out. He's so ready for Ferrari, basically. I don't know. We're not there. I'm not in their brains, but it's sad to see.
But yeah, he's like, I could already be in the red suit. I see myself there.
He does. Kik Sauber did a good pit stop for once. Go Kik Sauber.
Breaking news.
And Valtteri Bottas, you know, he done well this time, I thought.
Yeah. Nothing to write home about. I saw a meme that was literally like, breaking news, Kik Sauber do an okay pit stop for once.
Yeah, literally they did. That's what I have written down. Their pit stop was 4 seconds, which is not good for Formula 1, but it's good for Kik Sauber. So good for them. Max finished 10 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez, and yeah, Sergio Perez was in P2 and Carlos Sainz P3. Like we said earlier, Charles Leclerc got driver of the day. But also in the cool-down room after the race, Sergio said to Carlos Sainz, Charles was strong, yeah, and Carlos just ignored the question and acted like he never said anything. And I've been seeing, like in the cool down room, and I've been seeing things on TikTok this morning of like Carlos is in his revenge era, because obviously he's probably still kind of fuming that. And I've been seeing a lot of things now, people talking about like Charles and Carlos. It's kind of obviously Carlos didn't respond maybe he didn't hear him say that, like about like praising Charles's race, but he didn't respond at all. He clearly didn't want to talk about Charles.
No, I don't think he's in a. Well, no, I think he's in his revenge era, but not against Charles. But people
were saying maybe not, but then people were saying like everyone's saying how good Carlos is, and you know he's won the last race. He's in P3, but realistically, Charles Leclerc, if you're going to look at the points and the leaderboard, Charles is better than Carlos now.
Charles is up there.
And he's
Charles
not far off the points with Max. Like, Charles is not far off. So, yeah, Charles is consistent. But I obviously think as well that the one race where Carlos couldn't even race, I think, is probably not helped in the points perspective of it. But yeah, people are saying like Charles just doesn't get the recognition, but he's not far off Max.
That's really made me nervous to think if there's some kind of weird rivalry between, not weird, but like obviously there's a rivalry with all teammates, but if there's some like beef between Carlos and Charles, I don't want to believe it.
Well,
because I love them.
maybe, I know, but I don't know why he didn't say anything.
That is weird. Maybe
It was weird. But anyway, so that was just a little drama that people picked up on after the race. So that is my breakdown of today's race.
Woo.
And it was fun, confusing. I need to kind of do a deep dive into tyres a bit more.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I actually
Takeaway
did.
of the day. We need to learn tyres more.
Yes, we do.
Because that was like the big important thing of today.
And if there was anything, if you did watch the race, or is anything that I spoke about there that you guys wanted to comment about, please do. And anything I might have missed that was important, let us know.
Let us know your thoughts on the race. I think it's crazy how if you take away Red Bulls, it would have been a really crazy, dramatic race. So much fighting at the top, like switching in positions.
Honestly, if they weren't there, it's sad. It's so sad because it would be so fun. Like, and it is still fun, but you just ignore 1 and 2 when you see both Red Bulls up there. You're like, ignore. We're just gonna see what the hell is happening everywhere else because that is where the drama is happening. Like Max finishes 10 seconds ahead.
We should just stick some like sticky tape over that first place.
I've seen people do that. Which is funny.
Thanks for listening, Jess.
Thanks for the history episode. That was good.
Thanks.
Very sad.
It was sad, and I hope because I think that is a bit different to like what we've done. Obviously, it's very different to what we've done before, and it did like bring the mood down. It was a bit more serious, but I hope you kind of found that interesting to hear about. I know when I was first getting into Formula One, a lot of these like incidents that happened really interested me because, you know, it's just like a huge part of the sport. It completely changes rules and regulations of it, and
it's really true.
That
it's good to know
factor.
if you're getting into Formula One, which we know some of you are who are watching, so it's good to know. But I'll be back as well with some history.
Your turn next.
It'll be my turn next, and then we'll be back after the Chinese Grand Prix.
Woo! And Daniel Riccardo better have picked up his game, otherwise.
I hope he's okay. He looks, every time he gets interviewed after a race right now, he looks like he's going to cry.
But he's looked like that for the last 3 years. I'm not joking.
I know. It breaks my heart.
It does break my heart.
Anyway, see you in the next episode, guys. Have a lovely week and see you there.
Bye.
Bye.